This is Julio's Corner, my corner of the internet where I talk about whatever is on my mind. I'll mostly talk about stuff I've watched, read, or listened to, but sometimes I may ramble on about the news or politics or in society at large. This episode is being recorded on Sunday, September 14th, 2025. And here we are back. We are going to talk about Season 2, Part 2 of Wednesday. So, spoiler alert warning ahead of time, because if you haven't watched it already, feel free to skip this episode until you do, because I will spoil it. Before that, though, I want to do some corrections from the previous episodes. So I was mentioning about Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson's alma mater, but I couldn't remember the name of it, so I looked it up. It's the University of Arkansas. They won the 1964 national championship that year. Barry Switzer was the freshman assistant coach of that team of that year, 1964. So that's the link between the three people, between Jerry Jones, Barry Switzer, and Jimmy Johnson. He knew him and Jimmy Johnson played on the team, and Barry Switzer was the assistant coach of that team. So that's the connection between all three of them. When Jimmy Johnson was teaching, he was coaching college football, him and Barry Switzer would go head to head. And based on the docuseries, I forget the first school that Jimmy Johnson was the coach for, but when he was the coach of that other school before Miami, Barry Switzer had a winning record against him. And then Jimmy Johnson moved to the Miami Hurricanes, where he then had a winning record against Barry Switzer. So that's the little rivalry between the two of them. So that added an extra bit of flavor in that whole ordeal between the three of them when Jerry Jones hired Barry Switzer to replace Jimmy Johnson for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, about Superman, the character, the engineer. It's funny that I mentioned Jim Lee and Wildcats, one of his comic books. Turns out that the Authority is actually a rebranding of another Jim Lee production called Stormwatch. So Stormwatch was also part of Image Comics, which is what Jim Lee was from. And so the engineer was not an original character in Stormwatch. Under the writing team of Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch, a lot of the original characters of Stormwatch were killed off. The engineer was created by Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch, and then she became one of the members of Stormwatch, which eventually they changed their name to the Authority. And then when Jim Lee went over to DC Comics, he brought over Wildcats and the Authority from his Wildstorm branch of Image Comics. That was his company. He called it Wildstorm, which is a combination of Wildcats and Stormwatch, Wildstorm. So, and that's where the engineer comes from. As for Mark Miller, the reason why I thought Mark Miller was because he was part of the second creative team that wrote comics for the Authority. So Jim Lee, funny enough that I mentioned him in the episode, was the creator of Stormwatch, which became the Authority. And Mark Miller was a writer for that comic book when it was under Image Comics before it moved over to DC. And that becomes the combination of, once they entered the DC universe, that's why the engineer's in the Superman movie. Last but not least, I remembered that I kept saying Bianca Belair when I was talking about Bianca Barclay, the character from the Wednesday show. I guess I had wrestling on my mind, and their names are so similar. They both have the BB alliteration. So Bianca Barclay is the character. If I accidentally say Bianca Belair, I'm actually talking about Bianca Barclay. But for whatever reason, Bianca Belair, flows from the tongue a lot smoother. And it's because I guess wrestling is on my mind. So there we go. Those are the corrections from previous episodes that I have now addressed. And we're going to get into the spoilers of Wednesday Season 2, Part 2. Now, when I did my episode on Wednesday Season 2, Part 1, towards the end I mentioned that I had some concerns because the murder mystery was resolved rather quickly, and then the final 2 episodes just added a lot of subplots that I was wondering how were they going to resolve all of them, because they all seemed separate and dissociated from one another. Well, credit to Tim Burton and his creative writing team. They've mollified my concerns. They've assuaged my worries, and they were able to put it all together. So, number one, Slurp the zombie. Once he gets fully regenerated after eating a number of brains, also killing off that character, the headless, the bodiless head in a jar teacher played by Christopher Lloyd, who originally played Uncle Fester in the movies of the 90s. That was one of the brains that was one of the final brains that was eaten by Slurp the zombie. Once he was fully fleshed out and regenerated, it turns out that zombie was none other than Isaac Galpin, the uncle of Tyler Galpin. The female, the mysterious female that was saved from Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital, I originally thought that might have been Lucretia Adams, because the way she was looking at Wednesday, all like with a haunted look, and so grateful for being saved. I thought that might have been Lucretia. Well, it turns out that no, that is not Lucretia Adams. That was Francois Galpin, Tyler's long lost mother, who they thought was dead, and because she's also a Hyde. And so everyone thought Francoise Galpin was dead. She wasn't. She was instead sequestered to this hidden wing of the Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital, where the Stonehurst family were running those experiments of trying to extract her abilities. And it turns out that technology that the Stonehurst family was using was created by none other than Isaac Galpin, the famous mad scientist student who died in that explosion in Iago Tower in Nevermore Academy. Because they wanted, Stonehurst, like I mentioned in when I was talking about season part 1, he was a normie who wanted to have some of the powers, and I guess he coveted the Hyde, strength and the crazy strength that Hydes have, and I guess he was going to find a way to harness that without the lunacy that comes from being a Hyde. And of course, obviously, that never panned out because he never got any powers. And the only powers that his daughter got was that of an avian, which is the ability to control birds. She also, funny enough, that whole murder mystery that we've discovered in part 1 that she was the killer. And though she doesn't quite get the justice that she was deserved to get, Isaac, before he became Isaac, he was just Slurp the zombie, killed her off. So that was the end of that whole subplot. That whole plot is an open shut case. They're never going to solve it. It's going to be a cold case for the sheriff department in Jericho. But we, the audience, obviously know that she was the killer, and well, now she's no more because Tyler ate her brains. One of his final victims. Let's see, what other loose ends? I was concerned about Principal Barry Dort. What is he scheming? Why is he so manipulative trying to get all this money. Well, it turns out that he's actually the original founder of the morning song cult, the cult that Bianca Barkley, her mother, was a part of. Her mother and father. Her father was the cult leader who would convince everyone to join the cult using Bianca's mother's, his wife, siren call to brainwash them to take their money and stuff. But now he's on the run, so Bianca was trying to hide her in the school, and of course, not knowing that Barry Dort, it was in fact the actual founder and boss. He was the mastermind behind the whole cult embezzling scheme. He was using, and her father was actually nothing more than a figurehead, because he was a failed actor, he had his heyday in this soap opera in the show, but once they killed off his character, his acting career essentially failed. But he still had the face, as Barry Dort called it, and so he used his face to be the figurehead of the morning song cult, and have that whole scheme going. So the reason why he was trying to get Grandmama, is that her name? Yeah, Hester Frump, to donate to the school fund. In reality, he wanted to get the whole Adams family fortune for himself, put it in an offshore account, and run off with it. So those were all the loose ends. I was wondering what was going to happen with the zombie. Well, he's Isaac Galpin, and so obviously he's going to come together he's going to rejoin the Galpin family, both Tyler and Francoise. Isaac's singular ambition, he was always about dark scientific discoveries, but mainly the one person he did love, even though once he replaced his original heart with a clockwork heart, and lost all human emotion, the one emotion that still stayed despite the clockwork heart, was his love for his sister, Francoise. And you find out in this episode, in this season, in part 2 of this season, that one of the bad effects, one of the drawbacks of being a Hyde is a short life span, because I guess turning into the Hyde monster form exerts a lot out of your body. So with each transformation into a Hyde, you shorten your lifespan. And so she was towards the tail end of her lifespan. And so Isaac's solution was, well, the mechanism that was being used in the Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital to try to extract the outcast abilities to transpose them on normies was actually originally created by Isaac, and the hope and the original purpose of that device was to just extract the abilities, to just remove them altogether, not to transpose them to anyone else, but just to remove them altogether. So he wanted to use it to save his sister by removing the Hyde abilities and just making her a normie. Now, we come to find out what we come to find out what caused the explosion in the Yago Tower. And so what happened was, his roommate in Nevermore Academy was none other than Mr. Gomez, Wednesday's father, when he was a student at Nevermore Academy, and they were, best friends. So Gomez Adams, he thought they were best friends. But again, Tyler with the Clockwork Heart has no real human emotions except for his love for his sister. So, as close to being a best friend as he could with Gomez Adams, the one caveat to that friendship was his sister. And like the Pugsley, who has the and Uncle Fester, who has the ability to electrocute people. Isaac wanted to use Gomez Adams also had the ability to electrocute people. Had the ability of electroshock. So Isaac Galpin asked him, "Can you help me? I need you as a power source to help save my sister." And of course, Gomez Adams, thinking that they were great friends, accepts. He's like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll help you." And it turns out that actually he was going to completely suck out his ability, his powers. The end result was going to end up killing Gomez Adams, and he did not disclose that to Gomez Adams because again, his sister took priority over his friend, and he was willing to sacrifice his friend to save his sister. So in the middle of that experiment, long, long ago, Morticia saves Gomez Adams, and in her rescue of Gomez Adams, the explosion, whatever she chopped off his hand in the where the control panel was, and I guess in that during that instance, something happened with the controls, which overloaded the machine and it caused the explosion, which shot out Isaac Galpin over to the skull tree in the forest of Nevermore Academy. And already dug up there was a graveyard that he was going to bury Gomez Adams in. So they repurposed it for Isaac. And so that closes that other story. Oh, as for the hand that got chopped off, that's where you get Thing, who never knew where he came from. That was another plot that they added into part 2 of season 2, was he wanted to find out, where he came from, and there was like a support group of limbs that were like, even though we may be, which was administered by the bodiless head in the jar, and so he was I forget the logo, the motto, but basically he was saying that even though you might be a part of a whole, you are all you, or something to that. You're still complete as yourself, as a limb. So, where does that leave us? Right. So we find out all this. Thing was actually the hand of Isaac Galvin. I think it was his right hand, and Isaac Galvin tried to use Gomez Adams' abilities to save Francoise, and that's how the explosion happened and how he originally died and so forth. So now we are towards the end. Francoise obviously is dying. She's trying to be the new master of her son. Now that the Hyde ability, has been awakened originally by Christina Ricci's character, whose name I forget, in season 1. And he, because apparently, according to the lore of this show, once a Hyde is born and has a master, the master basically controls the Hyde for life. If a Hyde kills off their master, which he does in the ending of part 1 of season 2, if they kill their master and they're now without one, that could lead to them going insane. So Francois, in her maternal way, as a Hyde can, I guess, decides, well, I can't have you die, so I will be your master. Um, but she's dying, and now that Isaac is back and reunited with his sister, he once again wants to save her. So the question is, how am I going to save you now? Well, Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital uh, is a mess. The original lab that was created by Stonehurst is, got blown up in the ending of part one, which caused everyone to get out of there. Apparently, the Iago Tower still has the machinery there. Obviously, it needs to be fixed or whatever, somewhat. And somehow, I thought Isaac Galpin was a normie, but apparently he has telekinetic powers. So he decides we'll just go back to Iago Tower. I will, me the genius, will fix everything, and we just need a new power source. So we're gonna go grab Pugsley, the guy who brought me back to life, because hey, it's fitting because that is the son of my former friend Gomez Adams, and he foiled my plot originally, so it's only fitting that now his son will pay the price. That's his twisted logic. So they kidnap Pugsley, but of course Wednesday, the whole family, well, minus Gomez Adams because he doesn't have his ability anymore. Because even though he didn't die in the original operation, the operation sucked out his ability. It still managed to kill off his ability, so he doesn't have the ability to electrocute anymore. But his son inherited that ability still. So there's that. Um, so yeah. So in that final kerfuffle at the end, Isaac Galpin reclaims his hand, reattaches it to his arm, the right hand, leaving Thing without an ego, so to speak. Captures Pugsley and buries Wednesday to kill her. Now, luckily for Wednesday, what's her name? Agnes DeMille, the stalker friend who can turn invisible, witnessed the whole thing, goes to Enid for help, which is unfortunate for Enid because it turns out that she is an alpha werewolf because she's able to turn wolf regardless of a full moon. And in the lore of the Wednesday show, apparently normal werewolves can only wolf out during a full moon, which happened in season one. And so only alphas can do it whenever. However, if they do turn wolf during a blood full moon or something to that effect that happened in the ending of season two, they run the risk of staying in wolf form, especially once their alpha abilities come to light. And so if that happens, then and they're not able to return to human form, the werewolf community will chase you, will what's the word? Self-police and exterminate you because you're now a threat to society. So there's like these cages, these wolf cages in Nevermore Academy where a werewolf can keep themselves caged in so that if they do accidentally wolf out, it keeps them from harming society. Well, she's in there trying to stay calm so she doesn't wolf out, so that harm doesn't befall her. But Agnes comes to her and tells her Wednesday needs her help. She got buried alive. So Enid, as the best friend of Wednesday, who I forget the term, um, but regardless, she leaves the wolf cages, uh, goes to the skull tree to dig out Wednesday, but they realize their human forms is not enough, so she purposefully wolves out to save her, and now she's stuck in werewolf form. So she leaves. She runs away, and Wednesday wants to pursue her, but she can't because Isaac has Pugsley, and they're gonna kill him to save Francois Galpin. So she goes to the Iago Tower to rescue her brother Pugsley. She meets up with her mother and Gomez Adams, but of course Gomez Adams can't go there, so it's just the two of them. And I believe I think Agnes comes with her as well. I don't remember clearly. So they go there. As they are on their way there, and what's his name? Tyler ties up Pugsley in the chair that they're going to use to suck up his electrical abilities. Um, his mother and Isaac tie him up to the table to extract his abilities. Which, unlike his mother, he doesn't want to lose his hide abilities. He loves his identity as a hide. He's fully embraced it, even though he already knows by seeing his mother that he's going to die. He's going to live a short life. But regardless, he doesn't want to lose his abilities. But the way his mom sees it, I'm already dying. I think it's too late for me. At the very least, I can save you, and you can live a normal life, and you don't have to suffer as a hide. But he doesn't see it that way. He wants to stay a hide. So anyway, they tie him up into the chair, into the table. And Morticia and Wednesday, they go up the tower, and as Wednesday approaches Tyler, instead of killing, Tyler tells Wednesday, "Please kill me." He whispers it because he's in agony as he's getting shot with the machine, extracting his abilities, trying to. He's like, "Kill me," because he doesn't want to live as a human. But instead of killing him, she cuts off one of his straps, giving him the ability to escape the contraption, which he does. Goes into hide form and is about to kill off Isaac, his uncle. His newly discovered uncle. He had no idea who he was, but then his mom turns into hide form, and they start fighting it out. And so they're on the roofs of the tower and whatnot. Isaac gets knocked out. They save Pugsley, and then as Tyler and Francois fight it out, his mother eventually falls off the roof and dies. She lands on the werewolf statue, which is kind of poetic because in season one, Tyler lost his fight, pretty much lost his fight to Enid in werewolf form. So it's kind of like a callback to how season one ended. But she dies, unlike Tyler, who's still alive. He tried to save his mom one last time, like reaching out his hand to grab my hand, but she just decides to end it. Isaac, he what's the word? He resumes consciousness, and now is trying to kill off the Adams with his telekinetic abilities. But they start appealing to Thing, and somehow Thing still has his ego, so he starts fighting back. Isaac starts punching him out and stuff until oh yeah, he eventually pulls out his heart, killing Isaac for good, and then he detaches from the arm and goes back to the Adams, and so that closes up those ends. Or a little bit before all of that, um, Wednesday discovers the whole Barry Dort plot, and confronts Bianca. Why did you siren my mom and my grandmama in this whole scheme? And she then uses her song on Wednesday to make her forget all of that. Um, but of course, Wednesday thought ahead of that, had Agnes DeMille hide invisibly in that room to retell the account of what happened. So even though she forgot everything, she was her suspicions were confirmed by Agnes, who witnessed it all. So Wednesday comes back to Bianca and reconfronts her, and comes up with a plot to comes up with a plan to rescue Bianca Barkley's mom, so that Bianca can once again be free of Barry Dart, and then Cat, because and and reclaim her autonomy. So um I think Agnes, in her invisible form, steals the item that Barry Dort uses to make himself immune to the siren song. So she takes it, gives it to Wednesday. Um, I forget who exactly saves the mom. Maybe it was Fester. No, no, no. It was Ajax. Ajax is the one who saves Bianca's mom from the hotel that she was being held at. And so once Bianca realizes, okay, my mom is safe, I no longer have any concerns, Barry Dort no longer has the thing that makes him immune, she then sirens him to reveal the plot. And so he tells everyone in attendance, including the police that were there, because of the whole situation at Willow Hill Willow Hill Psychiatric, I forgot the name already, hospital, Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital, the asylum. I should just stick with asylum. But anyways, um, because of the whole escape of Tyler and everything, the sheriff decided to keep the police around the school grounds for security purposes. So they're all there witnessing Barry Dort confess his sins of how he used Bianca Belair to siren all the people to get Grandmama to what's her name? I'm so bad at names. Hester Frump, to try to give away her fortune to the school, but really it's going to go to him to so he can run away with the money, and so on. And he can't stop himself because he's under the siren spell. But once he confesses everything and he realizes, oh crap, I just gave away my plans, and now I'm culpable. He grabs Bianca and tries to use her as a hostage to escape, but Ajax turns her into. Oh yeah, he uses his fire abilities to like burn the chandelier above him. I don't know exactly why. I guess he wanted it to fall in front of him to make his escape. But before that can happen, Ajax turns him into a statue. He stones him with his Gorgon head snakes. And then the chandelier falls on him, killing him off. So that plot is over. Isaac is dead. Tyler's mom, Francois, is dead. And now Tyler's the lone hiding. So he's still on the run. He's still a wanted criminal. And towards the ending, I believe he's at the they bury the parents and his family, and so I think he's at the tombstone of his mom. Well, it was already there because they thought she was dead before when they originally buried her. when they originally made the plot of land and whatnot. So I guess he was there. That's where he was at, because that's where they're gonna put his mom, obviously. And who comes to his side at that moment is Isadora Capri, the music professor. We find out that she's a werewolf, so that is her outcast ability. And apparently, she has a history with hides. She tells Wednesday that she had an abusive boyfriend who was a hide, and that's how she knows about hides and how to she knows what she knows about them. And Wednesday uses was going to try to become her plot original plot was to make herself Tyler's master. She was going to use the she found the book that Christina Ricci's character from season one had, or her diary of how she became Tyler's master, and so she was going to use her notes to recreate that whole situation to become Tyler's master. But obviously that failed because Francois intervened and took her son with her. Um, so anyway, what's her name? Isadora told Wednesday that her experience with hides is because of her former lover. Um, but what she tells Tyler to get Tyler to trust her is that her father was a hide, which is interesting. So I guess her mother was a werewolf and her father was a hide. So I mean, if we're just taking what she's saying at face value, that's the real story, I guess. But we don't know for sure, or maybe there's two things. She had her father was a hide, and I guess because of that, she might have dated a hide. So not that clear. Again, like I mentioned when I talked about part one, they don't really show her. They don't really Billy Piper, aka Isadora Capri, doesn't really have a lot of screen time, so we only get snippets of her. All I knew was she was a music teacher, and she wanted to get Wednesday to join the Nevermore Academy Orchestra, which Wednesday flat out denied. And then we find out, or we think we found out that her ex was a hide, so that's how she knows about hides. Uh, we find out she's a werewolf because she was the one who was telling Enid that I think you might be an alpha because everything that you're experiencing falls in line with alpha werewolves, because alpha werewolves tend to blossom late in life. They're able to change at will. And she's the one who told her that if you wolf out during the red full moon, the blood moon, I guess is what it's called, you can get stuck in that form. So she was the one who tried to get her into the wolf cages and so on. And then the coup de grace, or the icing on the top, is she has a support group for I guess hides who don't want to be masters, or other types of outcasts who are trying to, I guess, escape their version of the norms of outcast society. So Isadora Capri leaves town with Tyler in tow to bring her to this community that she's a member of, apparently. Because the school once again is closed. There's once again there's no headmaster. Speaking of headmasters, Larissa Weems is back, the principal of season one, but she's back in ghost form. So apparently, Larissa Weems is a distant cousin of the Addams family, and that is how she could become Wednesday's spiritual guide, which she was lacking because Goody Addams from season one, which was a guy that looked exactly like her but all in white, she gave up the ghost, so to speak, in season one. So no other spirits of the Addams family wanted to take up that role except for Larissa Weems. And her reasoning was, because how else can I torment the person who tormented me so much in the mortal plane. I can now do it from the afterlife. But she was helpful regardless of her being all snarky. And it was nice to see her, have a comeback, so to speak, even though she leaves in the end of season 2. So that's essentially all the plots that are completed, except for the last one I mentioned, which is Enid runs away in wolf form. And Wednesday made a promise that regardless of even if you get stuck in wolf form, I'm still your friend. I will come seek you out, and I will do my best to help you, because I am your pack. I am family. So that's how season 2 ends. Agnes DeMille goes back to her family, but she found a way to become Wednesday's friend, which was her ultimate goal all along. So she upgraded from stalker to actual friend, because she decided to no longer be a stalker, which Wednesday approved. She no longer sought Wednesday's validation. Enid and Ajax settle their differences and decide we'll just be friends from now on, because you were my first love, but we're moving on. They kind of had some type of relationship thing going on with Ajax and Bianca, so maybe they'll explore that in season 3. Enid's afraid of being alone because alpha wolves apparently become lone wolves, but Isadora told her that that's not necessarily true, as alphas can very much have a mate or partner, and so maybe Wednesday will be sort of, if not a mate, at least family, a pack member, because she's going to seek her out. So she, with Uncle Fester, right off to rescue Enid. Pugsley does eventually make a friend in the character who was in season 1 who can control insects. I don't remember his name offhand. But he was sort of friends with, he was sort of like a distant friend or colleague, at least a respected colleague of Wednesday's. And he was Pugsley's roommate, but he was too cool for school. He didn't want to be, he felt like he was just doing Wednesday a favor to be nice to Pugsley, but he didn't want to be associated with him necessarily. But then they got involved with the whole slurp situation. And in all of that, they, I guess he sort of feeling pity and then sympathy, and then it grew towards empathy, and now they've become friends. So now Pugsley finally has a friend in that character whose name I forget. Enid is on the run. Wednesday's out to save her. Bianca Belair no longer has to worry about Morning Song or her mom being affiliated with it, because Morning Song is over, because her father is dead. Barry Dort killed him, and Barry Dort is dead because he died. So Morning Song is no more, so they are free of that. And that's the end of season 2. So all my original concerns of how they're gonna tie all these loose ends, they found a way. Isaac was related to Galpin, so was that missing woman. They all got together. The hand belonged to Isaac thing. Barry Dort's plot is no more. And yeah, it all closed up in a nice little package. So that ends all of that. That's how Wednesday season 2 part 2 ends. And that wraps up the show. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or any thoughts you'd like to share, you can reach me by clicking on the Contact Me link in the show notes. If you're feeling extra generous, you can click on the donate link in the show notes and send some money my way. This show is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. This means you can share this episode, remix it, do whatever you want. Just say where you got it from. And as always, Thank you for listening.